You ever watch a World Cup game and spend half of it just waiting? Waiting for a throw-in that takes 40 seconds. Waiting for a substitute who's walking like he's got nowhere to be. Waiting while a striker who just sprinted 30 meters suddenly can't walk off the pitch unaided. FIFA heard you, and this summer they're doing something about it. The rules of football are getting their biggest shake-up in years, and some of these changes are going to completely shift how the game feels to watch. But the one that's going to genuinely shock you? It's not the VAR stuff, it's not the countdown timers. I'll drop it on you in a few minutes, and I promise you won't see it coming. Let's get into it. Let's start with something that's been driving fans insane for decades. The throw-in, the most unglamorous part of football, and somehow players have turned it into an art form of wasting time. Picture it: a winger wins a throw on the halfway line, 75th minute, team is up by 1. He walks over to the ball, takes his time, picks it up, looks at the dugout, wipes the ball, looks again, steps back, shuffles his feet, and then finally launches it 5 yards to his centre-back. That entire sequence, maybe 35 seconds. For a throw-in? Starting at this World Cup, that's over. Referees will now issue a visible 5-second countdown. Throw-in not taken in time, ball switches to the other team. No yellow card, no warning, just possession gone. Same story for goal kicks. Delay it too long and it becomes a corner. What I love about this is how clean it is. No card needed, no lecture from the referee, just an immediate, brutal consequence. Players understand incentives, and there is no bigger incentive than losing the ball. While we're on the topic of players milking every second, let's talk about the substitution walk-off. We've all seen it. 88th minute. Manager signals a change. The player being subbed off suddenly develops a slight limp, stops to tie his boot, has a full conversation with the fourth official, and eventually meanders to the touchline like he's on a Sunday stroll. Under the new rules, players will now have roughly 10 seconds to get off the pitch once a substitution is called. Miss that window? You still have to go, but the player coming on has to sit on the sideline for a full minute before he's allowed to enter. So now the team is temporarily playing with 10 men, which means the player dragging his feet isn't just annoying, he's actively hurting his own team. That changes the calculation completely. Managers are going to be screaming at their players to get off the pitch. Expect that to be a storyline at some point during the tournament. Fake injuries, the bane of every football fan's existence. A player goes down, physio runs on, tactical pause activated, manager barks instructions across the pitch, and then somehow the player makes a full recovery and jogs back into position like nothing happened. The new rule says, if play has to be stopped for a player to be assessed by a physio, that player has to come off for at least 1 minute. No exceptions. You want medical attention during the game? You sit out while your team plays short. Suddenly, that tactical injury timeout is a much bigger ask. A team chasing a goal in the 85th minute isn't going to risk going down to 10 men just to buy 45 seconds. It's a real deterrent. The one catch? Goalkeepers are still exempt. And look, goalkeepers are arguably the biggest offenders here. So does the rule solve the problem fully? Honestly, no. But it's a step. And for outfield players at least, the days of dramatically clutching your hamstring to buy time are numbered. VAR has been one of the most debated things in football since it was introduced. People either love it or hate it, usually depending on which team just had a goal ruled out. But whatever you think of it, it's getting more powerful at this World Cup. The big one, VAR can now look at second yellow cards. Previously, it could only step in for straight red card incidents. Now, if a player gets shown a second yellow that's clearly wrong player booked, or a decision that just doesn't hold up, VAR can intervene. Same goes for mistaken identity. If the referee accidentally books the wrong player in a scramble, that can now be corrected. Competitions also now have the option to use VAR on corner kicks. If the last touch was clearly not from the attacking team, it can be reversed. But only if it's obvious. And only if it doesn't hold the game up. That's the key phrase IFAB keeps coming back to. Fix the mistake, but don't stop the show. And I think that's actually a more mature approach to VAR than we've seen before. Less about getting every tiny call right, more about eliminating glaring errors quickly. That's what most fans actually want. Right, I've been holding the big one back. The rule that sounds simple on paper but is actually going to change some of the most dramatic moments of the tournament. Coming up next, and stick around, because this one genuinely surprised me when I first read it. Quick one, but a cool one. Referees at this World Cup will be able to wear body cameras during matches. Now, before you picture a referee running around with a GoPro strapped to their head, it's more controlled than that. The cameras have to be provided by the competition, and the footage stays with the competition. Referees aren't going to be running their own YouTube channels from the pitch, but what this means for broadcasting is genuinely exciting. Imagine watching a penalty decision from the referee's exact eye line, watching a red card being shown from 2 meters away, getting a perspective on the game that fans have literally never had access to before. It's also a fantastic learning tool for developing referees, seeing how top officials handle pressure moments up close. A small change on paper, but one that could produce some genuinely iconic World Cup footage. Okay, here's the one. Dogso, denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. If you foul someone who's clean through on goal, that's historically been a red card. Off you go, team down to 10, game changed. Now, under the old rules, if the referee played advantage after that foul and the team still scored despite the foul, the red card dropped to a yellow, because the goal wasn't actually denied. But under the new rules, if advantage is played and the goal goes in, no card at all. Nothing. The referee waves play on, the goal counts, and the game continues like the foul barely happened. And here's why this is the craziest change, because it's going to look wrong to anyone watching who doesn't know the rule. You're going to see a blatant foul in the penalty area, the referee waves it away, the ball hits the net, and 60,000 people in the stadium are going to be furious. Players will be furious. And then, nothing happens. Because think about it logically, the foul only warranted a red card because it was stopping a goal. If the goal happened anyway, what exactly are you punishing? The intent? The foul already happened. The consequence, the goal already happened. There's nothing left to compensate for. It's the most logically sound rule change in this entire list, and it's also the one that's going to cause the most chaos in stadiums this summer, guaranteed. So there it is. Countdown timers, substitution windows, physio rules, an upgraded VAR, body cams on referees, and a Dogso law that's been completely rewritten. Every single change points in the same direction. Less stopping, more playing. Whether that actually happens is another question. Players are adaptable. They'll find new ways to slow things down eventually. They always do. But for this summer at least, the World Cup should feel faster, sharper, and a little bit less like a chess match of delays and mind games. Which change do you think will matter most? Drop it in the comments, I'm genuinely curious. And if you're into the ref side of football, subscribe, because watching this World Cup through that lens is going to be a completely different experience.